I am Adam Posner, husband to the best wife in the world, father to 2 incredible children, a son, a brother, an uncle, and a loyal friend. I am a recruiter by trade, a podcast creator at heart, and an entrepreneur in spirit. I'm a native New Yorker, a hustler, and a connector. Prior to pivoting into the world of recruiting, I spent 15 years in account management and strategy roles at advertising and marketing in New York City at some big companies like American Express, SiriusXM Satellite Radio, and lastly at VaynerMedia working for Gary Vee. I've been fired, let go, downsized 4 times in my career, and I've been through hundreds of interviews as a candidate, so I get it. And when I got let go in 2015, I had to look deep down inside and harness my inner tenacity to pull me forward to the next chapter of my career, recruitment. But it was tough. I had to start over at 35 in a new industry. And after 2 years of working in search firms and learning the ropes, it was time for me to go out on my own, and I launched NHP Talent Group. A talent consultancy connecting opportunities with talent in the marketing world. I am an entrepreneur in mindset and a small business owner by execution. In early 2019, I launched my top global career podcast, The Poscast. I do not define myself, my style, or my unapologetic approach. I'm not here to win fans or followers, rather gain the trust of those aligned by being my true self and by helping others shine as bright as possible. And I got to this point in my life through hard work and overcoming career obstacles by harnessing my inner tenacity. I look out for the underdog because that's who I am and who I've been my entire life until now. I own my losses and prove that hard work and playing the long game always wins in the end. I took responsibility, accountability, and ownership of my big losses and turned them all into big wins. This is my story, and I appreciate you joining me for the ride. And if you're with me, let's go. All
right, well, I saved a couple of minutes there by not having to introduce myself, but my name is Adam, and I'm not going to talk about AI today. I am not going to talk about AI. Well, maybe I will for a little bit, but for the sake of the conversation, I'm not. And I want to say a big shout out hello to everybody joining us online. Thank you so much for joining us. It is beautiful in Anaheim, but I wouldn't be able to tell you that because we've been inside all day. From what I heard, though, it's sunny and beautiful out, so hopefully we'll get there after this. So let's get it started, everybody. So a question for everyone out there. What is your biggest challenge as a TA leader today that has nothing to do with AI at all? Answer, breaking through the noise to engage candidates. How are you going to stand out? How are you going to be different than your competition? How are you going to break through so much noise that is out there? Well, let's talk about what tactics and strategies are you currently using. Are you using what everyone else is using? As our good friend James Ellis talked about, the same old tactics. We made our website nice. We're doing ads out there, but it's not working. You're not attracting the top talent. It's time to do something different. It's time to step out of the box. It's time to challenge yourself as a TA leader. It's time to stop just being a recruiter and be a markruiter. Put that hat on and attract, engage talent differently, and engage and retain current employees with something different. So what's the answer to that? We're going to talk about that. But you have to be 1% better. If you want to attract the top 1% of talent, you have to do what 99% of the others are not doing. So today, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you a few different ways. I think from that video you guys could all tell I'm a podcaster, but I'm also a recruiter, which makes me very qualified and unique to talk about how do we talk about recruitment and podcasting and talent attraction, and that's what we're going to get into today. But first, before we do that, I'm going to get up on my soapbox and we're going to talk about the buzzword of culture. And when it comes to culture, there's a key element that I hate, and that is the F word. I hate culture fit. I despise culture fit. Because when you say fit, you're saying that I want everyone to look like us, sound like us, and talk like us. So let's abolish the word fit. I like to use something a little bit different. I like to say harmony. How do we build a harmonious culture? And I like to look at it as a tapestry or a quilt, depending on what region you're coming from. Every member of your team is a different textile. It could be yarn, it could be string, a different color, different density, different fabric. Everyone's different. Diversity of what we are on the outside, diversity of what we are on the inside. But when you put everybody together and you pan out, you have a beautiful quilt. So take that one back with you, take it back to the shop. Feel free to use it, just make sure you tag me in the post there. So, let's get back into that. Online glitch. Okay, here we go. Culture present. We have folks, yes, folks are still working from home, and no, working from home is not great for everybody. Some people are surrounded by kids and dogs and animals and elderly relatives that are a pain in the ass. I mean, a little bit of everything. And not everybody, by the way, has an ideal home office. Can we just stop talking about that? Working from home is not great for everybody. So let's just stop making that a blanket statement. Or even worse, companies that are having people go back to the office just to sit on a freaking Zoom call with people in other offices. Who wants to do that? No way. So what does culture mean to employees? What does it really mean? Like, what does it really, really mean? No, it's not about beer pong and cold brew on tap and, it's Taco Tuesday. Wait, Taco Tuesday is pretty cool. I think you could get me back in the office for Taco Tuesday, maybe. But that's not what it was about. Maybe 5 years ago, it was about those physical, tangible things that made an office cool. But is that culture? Is that what it really is? No. So how in this modern world of folks working remote, hybrid, and some that are in the office, how do you communicate culture? And how do you even define it? You need to have a delivery vehicle for that. Let's talk about candidate attraction and engagement. How do you get these things across? I'm not going to sit here and read every one of these things because it's a lot of numbers. And that's not the point of this. I'm not going to sit here and read it all. But the one thing I am going to read is 80, right there, the one that's boxed out. 82% of candidates prioritize employer brand and reputation when applying for jobs, i.e., they care about the actual company. They care. They're being attracted to. So high level here. What's important for candidates? This is based on some research, which I noted down at the bottom if you really want to kind of test me on that. A positive candidate experience is essential as negative interactions can discourage future applications and referrals. Duh. Candidates prioritize the brand and thoroughly research companies before applying. This is true. And you want those candidates. You want those candidates who actually put in the work and do their own due diligence. And I even tell candidates this as a recruiter. I go, listen, you should be happy that there's multiple steps in an interview process because that gives you the opportunity to do your own due diligence and ask the right questions before you join a company. But how do you communicate that? How do you talk about the culture? We'll get to podcasting in a minute. And the interview process, of course that's important. Of course that's critical. So how do you make it right? How do you talk about it? So here's a big question. Can a podcast help to communicate a company's culture, story, and value to candidates? You guys are all probably looking at me, you're like, oh God, we're gonna do a podcast? I have to talk to the CMO now, I'm gonna have to get some money for this, is this really gonna work? I'm gonna help you sell this thing in here. Don't worry, Pa's got you, we're gonna take care of this. Well, what else could it do? Could a podcast help to keep remote employees connected and engaged? What if we had something everybody in the company could get excited about, something cool, something people actually want to listen to? That's not mandatory. It's not a mandatory training. It's something cool that's created by the employees, for the employees, to attract new employees into the company, to make everyone's lives a little bit better and a little bit happier. How do we communicate diversity? Is this the picture that's on our website? How many people out there? All you people in the back there, and especially way back there, and online. Thank you for entertaining me, my local Anaheim crew here. But diversity, is this a picture on your website? Are you literally using a stock image with every color in the rainbow to show that this is our company and none of these people actually work there? No. We're not doing it. So let's find out. Let's really lift up the hood of the engine and see how a podcast could help your company with talent attraction, retention, and employee experience. I think you asked me this. Okay, who's really doing this? Is anybody doing this? Let's start off with the first case study here. So I don't know if you folks are familiar. You probably see the name VaynerX up there. And big shout out to Gary Vee. It's his birthday today. Happy 49th birthday, Gary Vee. But before they folded in the Sasha Group into larger VaynerX, Sasha Group was VaynerX's small business consultancy. And I was on board as a recruiter working for them. And I was recruiting a director of strategy role. We had a couple candidates in the final round. And the lady said to me, she said, okay, I kind of get it what they do. I kind of understand it, but I still don't see the big picture of how they're engaging with clients, what kind of work that they're doing. I said, well, why don't you check out their podcast, Building While Flying? And she binged a couple of episodes, and she sends me a text message back. She's like, I get it. Their podcast was their marketing team and their leaders talking to clients and unpacking case studies of the work that they're actually doing. They are showcasing the work and making it shine. And she accepted the offer, and the rest is history. So I have seen this firsthand, how it works, case in point. Wait, you mean this really works, Adam? Yes, it works. She got the job, and now I insert my generic Shutterstock photo on my website there. God bless Shutterstock. You think they're going to go out of business with AI? Like, is that going to happen? Because you could create the craziest photos. I could literally type in right now, ladies excited, she got job, show hand exuberance up in the air, instead of actually taking a photo. We're going to put Shutterstock out of business. It's going to be absolutely great. That's a story for another time. Oh, maybe you heard of this company, JP Morgan. Did you guys know that they have a podcast? Well, I didn't until I started actually putting this deck together for the first time, but they do. And it's pretty cool what they're doing there. The piece that I like about the JP Morgan podcast, they actually have a few different niches and verticals that they're putting out there for different verticals within the organization. And who are they trying to attract here? Specifically women on the move. They're highlighting current employees, what they're doing, the trends, and educating. This is real. This is happening out there. Pretty cool. Now, some podcasts could be found anywhere, like you would go on iTunes or Spotify or Apple Music. Some other podcasts are internal only, and we'll get to those in a little bit. And there's so many things besides audio. There's so many things besides audio that you could do with it, including video. Don't forget about video. Let's check out this one over here, sponsored by our good friends at ZipRecruiter. This is a little bit different way to think about a podcast where they're doing more of a sponsorship angle. Do you want to tie yourself to an entrepreneur who gets the word out there, who has that spirit of your company? That's one interesting one. So Damon John doing this one. They highlight different stories of entrepreneurs out there in the world, brought to you by ZipRecruiter. So it's not so much a ZipRecruiter company, but just a different way to look at it, where companies in our space are putting the money where their mouth is to put the name of the company in the ears of people in the industry that they're trying to recruit for to work for them. It's a little different approach here. This one I really like, the Slack Variety Pack. This one's pretty cool because what they're doing is individual case studies of different clients that they have. They're highlighting how these companies are finding new ways to be productive, yes, with the use of Slack, but it all comes back to the company. What tool, what product are they using, and it's Slack. How are they being effective with these tools? How are they moving the needle forward? How are they staying connected in this remote world? Let's bring everyone together and share these stories. Big shout out to our friends over at Ashby. Big shout out. This is a brand new podcast, and here's the part I love about this story. So my friend Shannon over at Ashby, putting this podcast together in the last year or so, and she shot me a note. She's like, Adam, I'm thinking about doing this. I love what you guys are doing with the podcast. And now I'm working with her. Well, not working with her. I mean, you can if you want, Ashby. But we've been talking about best practices with building a podcast. And this is pretty cool. This is getting super niche into recruiting tech, hiring tech, and what they're doing internally and innovations. So she's interviewing leaders in the industry. A lot of the speakers that you had up here, she's having conversations with them, talking about the latest trends, the latest tech. Again, it's brand association and affiliation. I'm listening to a conversation that I enjoy, that I'm learning from a company that is doing something in this space that will continue to move the needle forward. So shout out to Shannon, shout out to our friends over at Ashby. I also love the name of it, Offer Accepted. Do you ever think what you would call a podcast? Like if you had your own podcast, you ever like, am I the only one that like thinks about that? Or am I the only one that thinks about what my next show would be? Here's a little fun one, off script here. I want to know what you guys think. I had an idea for a podcast called Why I Got Fired. I mean, I could record my own 6 times that I got fired stories for the first 6 episodes. You guys think that would fly? Would that be HR compliant? Who cares? Do you have to sign an NDA before you do it? So that's my crazy idea. Thank you for entertaining me out there. So now we get into an interesting one about an internal-only podcast. Kind of a for us, by us. Like I said with Damon John's FUBU thing, right? Sorry, we'll get back to that in a little bit there. But this is interesting. Giant behemoth of a company, Procter & Gamble. Inspiring guests, unique perspective, unconventional ideas. We're stepping outside the box because we're much more than a soap company. Oh, cool, wait. Only P&G employees could access. That got my attention. Now we have something of our own. Now we have something pretty cool. First of all, I like the name. It's a pretty cool name here. I like the logo. But it's for them. So you're creating something unique, something for the internal folks to share. And one of the cool things they do, I have a buddy who works over there and told me about this. They rotate who hosts it. So you have different people, so people are raising their hands. People that want to try something. People that say, you know what? I listen to a lot of podcasts. I think I could be, a Joe Rogan or call her daddy, whatever the name of that show is that she's getting like $800 million a year for. By the way, SiriusXM, I know I used to work there. So if you're looking to sign a new podcast, I'm ready to come back. Bring me on board. I could take your money all day long. Other companies in the space when it comes to productivity, tools that we're all using, tools that freelancers are using, Dropbox. Everyone knows Dropbox. I mean, I get reminded probably once a day that my Dropbox storage is full. I don't even use it. Anyone else get that message, by the way? Interesting tactic that they're using there. So they have one host here, Tiffany Brown, and they talk about virtual first work with experts, historians, comedians. They have a whole different crew here, but virtual first. So they've niched down and they're talking to an audience, and yes, this is externally facing, right? They're talking to freelancers, but still a company who's using productivity tools. Pretty cool what they're doing over here. Here's another one of those. The cool thing that folks want to see is behind the scenes. And this is the OBC Dell Brewing Company. And there's a monthly podcast features co-workers, behind the scenes stories, offering a way to stay connected among our many locations and products. So if you're a company that has a strong brand affiliation, people enjoy it, why not create a podcast about that? You have loyal fans. Now you're saying, Adam, what the heck does this have to do with recruiting? People like working for companies, most companies, that they might be a consumer of, they might be a fan of. So why not leverage that? Work with that brand equity. Make it easy. This is low lift, folks. Take advantage of those pieces that you already have. All right, what about showcasing the candidate experience? So if you're thinking about some of these podcasts, all right, I'm gonna give you a little bit, I don't know if I should be talking about this. So, I was approached, and this project didn't happen, so we'll call it a hypothetical. I was approached from an ad agency who was doing work with a very big airline. We'll just say it's based out of a small town called Chicago, Illinois. And they said, we're looking to do something to drive recruiting, candidate attraction, awareness out there. We think we want to do an internal podcast. We want to show people what it's like to work in this organization. And we love what you're doing with the podcast. What are your thoughts on coming out to this airport in the middle of the country and interviewing folks from different areas? Talk to the gate agents, talk to the folks, the maintenance team, talk to everyone within this organization and put it together to showcase what it's like to work here. Right? You could put a talking head up there and talk about your company. But again, it comes back to showing versus telling. So what better way to show what it's really like to work in an organization? Now, project's on hold, but I think that's critical. Talk about the hiring, what it's like going through the process. One of the things I do on the podcast all the time, I ask people, how did they get their job? What was the process like? And especially if they're a TA leader, what have you learned from both positive and negative experiences that you would put into practice in your new role? Here's what's cool about a podcast. I'm going to teach you guys how to do this in a little bit. So let's just say that, well, we'll pick someone out here. Let's just take our friend over at NYP Hospital out there. You're recruiting nurses, right? You're going after recruiting nurses. Now, there's obviously different types of nurses, what they do, but what makes working in your hospital organization different? What is it actually like to work there? Okay, so we have a NYP podcast. You have thousands of employees over there. What if we're able to take snippets of that video, specific for nurses, and put highlights and links in that outreach email? So they're not hearing it from the recruiter. They're not hearing it from the hiring manager. They're hearing what it's like to work there from actual people within the organization. Do you think that's going to add value? Do you think that's going to stand out? What about in an outreach process? Do you really want to see another generic email from me? What if I put in memes work? We've tried the memes before. Shout out to my buddy Kevin, who taught me that memes work. They really do work, especially if they're good ones. But you have to be careful with your humor. I'm really not that funny, so I kind of just go back to the dad jokes, and it usually works for everybody. But think about all those touch points. How many touch points do you have with a potential candidate from start to finish? From the first outreach to hire. Each one of those touch points is an opportunity to engage, to show versus tell. So if you have these podcasts and you're creating content out there, each one of those touch points is an opportunity to inform, to educate, and to engage. You could put it on your company career page, employee referral program. What if you're a large organization and you have a pretty standard interview process? What if you had a cool clip, a 30-second clip from a podcast of two folks who work in the organization talking about the process and telling you exactly how it was? Again, you're hearing it directly from them. That builds authenticity. This is not forced. How about an employee referral program? Hey, I think my buddy Mike would be a great employee here. Well, I hear Adam talk about it all the time. He must like it, but what if he was able to listen to 6 other people that worked here and hear it directly from them? Again, you're building trust through authenticity. You are doing something different. As James Ellis spoke about it before, the table stakes are a nice website. If anybody does not, well, except for the legal profession, does every law firm look the same? Like, it's like the blue, right? And everyone's with their suits on and everything. I think the legal industry is ripe for disruption. First of all, we need to find firms that are just t-shirt and jeans and casual. That would be a lot better for everybody out there. I don't know if I'd hire them, but we'll see about that. All right, so let's talk about this. Just to recap for everyone out there. Create content that attracts talent. If you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're doing nothing. What are you doing different? How are you going to stand out? Showcase the innovation. Showcase the trends. Showcase your thought leaders. Every company out there, I don't care how big or how small you are, you have experts within your organization who love to talk about it. So put them on stage, put them on a pedestal, put them in front of a podium and put them on a podcast and get it out there. Showcase your talent, let them shine, everybody. Culture. If I have to go back to that Shutterstock slide, forget it. I'm not gonna do that again. It's cringe. It's cringe. So how do you showcase diversity? The beauty of a podcast, unless you're doing video, if you're doing audio, you're hearing, you're not seeing. So now you could showcase my favorite of all the diversity of mindset, of thoughts, the anti-culture fit. How do we showcase that our company is made up of people who have different backgrounds, different values, they think a little bit differently. It doesn't matter who they voted for. We don't care. We love everyone here, right? And at the end of the day, we're going to showcase diversity of mindset. We're going to bring different perspectives to this organization. That's what makes us great. That's what makes us stand out. Going back to the James Ellis slide from earlier before today, what is it about your organization that sets you apart? Find a different way to make that shine. Highlight the candidate and employee experience. Again, that kind of goes back to culture. What is it like to work here? What's the interview process like? Maybe there's a reason why we have maybe a few more steps in our interview process. Maybe if you had someone talk about, hey, we do this to give you the opportunity to really see what it's like to work here and if you want to work here. Oh, wait till we get to the content piece over here. Wait till I show you what you could do with one-hour podcast. It's going to be pretty cool. So let's get into it here. And yes, companies are using podcasts for employer branding. I just showed it to you. I didn't just tell it to you. I showed it to you. So how are we going to do this? Let's even take what I'm doing right here. We're recording it. We got cameras there. We got cameras there. I'm going to take this keynote that I'm doing, and I could do something pretty cool. Let's go back to Gary Vee again. Happy birthday, Gary Vee. This is called the content pyramid. How many out there has heard of the content pyramid? What you could do with one piece of content, a 1-hour podcast, micro clips, Instagram, TikTok, take the transcript in a blog form and turn it into 72 tweets or X's, or I don't know if anybody still uses it anymore, but you get the point. All these platforms here, and guess what? I'm going to say it. Evan, I told you I wasn't going to say it, but the AI tools right now that are out there in content creation are absolutely incredible. I use this one tool called Opus, which basically ingests my content. It takes a 1-hour podcast, it applies virality scoring to it, and it spits out 20 clips, all captioned, everything I need to have, and I can automate that right into any of my social media platforms. Imagine that's your company page right there. Now you are feeding content into your company page and distribute it across all your social media. How many cool LinkedIn employer pages have you really seen? Show of hands. No, I don't see any. Great. That's for my homies in the audience here. For the real fans, the loyal, and I appreciate that. Most LinkedIn pages for companies are boring as hell. How do you make your page stand out on LinkedIn? Some badass content on there, that's how you're gonna do it. So let's see who's actually doing this right now. Again, I'm going to show you and not just tell you. I'm not just standing up here making this stuff up. Believe me, there's like 17 other things I want to talk about, but now I'm going to show you these things right here. Otter AI. That's Richard, he's a chief design officer over there. First of all, nice job in his headline, hiring for product design. Okay, cool, targeting them. What's he talking about here? He's literally talking about an episode of their podcast where they're talking about design aesthetic and hiring. What tools are they using? Listen to it right there on their own podcast. There it is. They're doing it. I'm not making this stuff up, people. But they're the 1%. They're standing out. And then they're taking that content and they're putting it on LinkedIn. Who else is doing that? Oh, check it out. She was on my show. Hey, look at that. Leanne's awesome. First of all, this is a great podcast. It's 189, sorry. I'm up to almost 400 now. This is about 2 years ago. What is it like to be an associate? Like, literally interviewing an employee, what it's like to work there. You're hearing it firsthand from that employee, and you're putting it out on LinkedIn. It could all come from that podcast. Again, going back to that pyramid, this content generating machine. Okay, Evan likes this one. I love to say, and I'm sorry I'm cursing here, but you know what? I like to make shit happen. That's what I do. Okay, how are we gonna get into this? How are you going to be the champion with your organization to have a podcast in your company? I just wanted to get Freddie up there because he's just awesome. Okay, let's get into it. Adam, this is great. You're telling me all these things. Yay, I want to do a podcast, but like, oh man, I'm gonna have to go to the CMO. I'm gonna have to ask her for money. How are we gonna do this? What's it gonna take? And I'm not gonna lie to you. This does take work. This does take commitment. But if you want to be better than the 99% and be in that top 1%, you have to do something that the others are not doing. And it's gonna take effort. The first question is, you have to ask yourself, why the heck are we starting a podcast? So going back to what I talked about earlier, if you feel you're not attracting the right talent, if you feel you're not getting the word out there about your organization, if you feel like you're really not spreading of what we do and why you want to work here, think about this. So what are your goals? We want to attract new talent. We want to make it interesting to current folks that work here, something they get excited about. Whatever your goal is, you need to define that before you even start a podcast. Because at the end, if you go down this road and you create it, you'll be able to go back and say, do we hit our goals? Do we accomplish what we were trying to do? Not rocket science. Okay, where do we start? I think a good first question, and I'm actually going to read these because they're interesting. What will our podcast be about and who is it for? I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. Your podcast, even if it's a personal podcast, a career podcast, a brand podcast, it's a canvas. You're the artist. You get to decide what it's going to be. And you could change it anytime you want. It's an evolution. It's a living, breathing, creative piece of art. I mean, I always like to say, the podcast is my canvas, and my guests are the paint, and I just brush it on there. Right? So I create it with them. It's a co-creation, and it's an evolving piece. It's a living, breathing piece. What should the format of our podcast be? Do I need a host? Who should be hosting it? If we're a company, do we have one person host it all the time? One of the things I actually think is pretty cool is to use it as an internal employee engagement. Say, we're launching a podcast. We're going to be putting out a few a month. Who would love to be a host? Hey, you're going to host one episode. You're going to host one. That entire back row is going to host a podcast there too. Think about using it as an engagement tool. Again, adding to culture, something cool, something different, something people want to get behind. No, you don't have to have it all figured out. You guys know the expression, F around and find out? Yeah, just do it. A wise man named Nike said, just do it. Just try something. Who are my guests going to be? This is a pretty fun conversation too. Think about like, all right, let's do it on like a Friday afternoon. We'll get everyone in there and let's just have a whiteboard session and mess around and have an idea generating machine and come up with it. It doesn't matter. Now, the last one's important here. I'm sorry, we talked about hosting. Do you need a co-host? Well, I do this show by myself. I don't like having a co-host for that. In the same breath, I do another show, the Purple Eggcorn HR Morning Show, and I have two co-hosts with me. And it's a completely different dynamic, and it's a completely different vibe. Again, it goes back to you saying, we could try things, we could switch up the format. We'll get a little technical over here too. Who is producing it and how to get a show on the internet in the ears. If you really want to see that, check out the poscourse.com, blah, blah, blah. We'll teach you how to do that. Here's the beauty too. You could probably outsource it to a company who could do all the video, the social media clips for a couple $1,000s a month. Anybody charging you more than that? Come talk to me. We could talk about that a little bit. It's not that hard. And if you have an internal marketing team and some people that like to mess around with the tools, let me tell you guys something. If I wanted to, with my show, a couple million downloads, 400 plus episodes, it looked highly polished, but guess what? When I started the show almost 6 years ago, I had to have a full-time audio editor, a full-time video editor, someone doing social media clips. With the tools out there right now with AI, it could be a one-person operation. It's not that heavy of a lift. Look at this camera we have here. This isn't a big camera recording our podcast right here. This is something that anybody could use. I love you guys working back there. Those cameras are great, they're fantastic, but you don't have to invest heavy in this. You really don't. Now, I'm not saying shoot it on your iPhone, believe me, you don't want to be doing that. But what is important is the actual audio. That's a really important piece, so you want to have quality audio. Because at the end of the day, the auditory experience, you want people to not be turned off and listening to garbage in their ears. You don't be listening to static. How do we do this? Just spoke about that. Just hit record. My first episode recorded in February 2019. I was in a small glass conference room in a shared workspace. Echo chambers hell, but I didn't know that. I didn't realize till afterwards the fact I could literally hear every word bouncing back off of my face. And I just hit record. I just did it. I just recorded a Zoom call with somebody in my LinkedIn network, and that was episode 1. Because I took the initiative. And I said, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to do it. Outsourcing and production, not specific to talking about brands out there, but it applies as well. Anything that somebody could do better, faster, cheaper, more efficient, that is not my core area of expertise, I'm going to outsource so I could focus on my core strengths, which is hosting a show and booking the greatest guests and making it awesome. That's what I do. Again, I said this before, your audience should always be top of mind. I do my show for my audience, because without your audience, you don't have anything. So if your audience is candidates, current employees, outwards branding, always think about their experience. Okay, ROI. This is important, and it's a very simple question. Are we enjoying this? You guys like this? Yeah. Like, are we doing this? Like, you guys like the podcast? Like, you get assets in your own company. Are we doing this? If it is work, if it is a struggle, if it is a grind, if it is causing you unnecessary stress and it's just not working, stop. One thing that I learned from being a host and being a guest on so many other shows and consuming podcasts, you could hear it in the host's voice if they're not enjoying the conversation or if they're not a good host, and no one's gonna listen to it. Now, listen, if you're a celebrity out there and you have a built-in audience and you're doing it, but it's not gonna last forever, folks. Are you seeing positive results from candidates and employees? Goes back to those initial goals. Candidate attraction. We can measure it, because guess what? We can measure every click in an email. We can measure listen, duration lengths. Are people listening to it? How about more qualitative feedback? They get on the phone with the recruiter. Hey, I just got to tell you, that last email you sent to me with that clip of Jessica and Melinda talking about why they love working, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. That was nice to see. You're hearing these things. What are we learning in the process? What are we doing? Where can we implement these things elsewhere in the organization? Again, consistent feedback loop. Evaluate the ROI. Is it worth it? Should we keep going? And the next part is most important. Set future goals. When I was 20 episodes in, another podcaster out there, Jordan Paris, said to me, you got a knack for this, it's pretty good. He goes, what, do you have an end goal? I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep going with it. He goes, set a goal. Push yourself to 50 episodes. And then I got to 50, he goes, good stuff, man. Go to 100 and just keep going. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going till it's not fun. Keep going till the funding gets cut off. Keep going as long as you're seeing positive results. Keep going when you see that you're bringing in the right candidates. Keep going when you hear the C-suite saying, hey, we're hearing good word on the street out there. People are enjoying this. It's making a difference. Keep going. Keep going so you are attracting the top 1% of talent out there. Keep going so you're better than 99% of everyone else out there. Keep going and stand out, and thank you very much. And you can connect. I missed the memo about the QR code, but you guys are online right now. So folks that are online, head over to LinkedIn. You know where to find it. I'm Adam J. Posner. Fun fact, this is a cool little podcast story. So I'm not the only Adam Posner out there. I know I feel like I'm the only one. I talk like I'm the only one. But it's a very big world, so there's other Adam Posners out there. So early on in my podcast journey, I connected with Adam Posner in Australia. About 5 years older than me. And he does loyalty marketing, and he's actually a thought leader and speaker in the space. Aussie Adam, I call him. I've had him on my show. I do an annual kind of recap show at the end of the year. I've had him on a few different times, and we do this segment once a year. I have him on, and we catch up because it's Adam of the future. He's already in the next year ahead. So I use him as a crystal ball, and I say, Adam Posner, please tell me what 2025 has in store for Adam Posner. And we do this shtick every year, and I love it, and it makes me happy. And these are little things that you do with a podcast, and it connects you. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn. Check out thepodcast.com. Check out our show, our HR morning show every Tuesday morning, Purple Acorn. Shout out to my co-hosts, Joel and Danielle. It's awesome. I don't really go on X or Twitter that much. Please follow me on NHP Talent. We have YouTube out there. I want to thank ERE. I want to thank our friends over at Juicebox and everyone out there for joining us today. And that's how we do it, folks. Thank you very much.